All right, I'm here with the founders of Jamm Designs. How you guys doing?
Doing good. Great.
So, for people that may not know you, do you want to just go around and give a brief introduction of yourselves? Maybe we could start with you, Eddie.
Sure thing. Yeah, my name is Eddie, and I'm obviously part of the three founders of Jam. I'm a brand designer mainly, but I do dabble into like web a little bit. And yeah, it's been fun jamming with these two. I'll pass it on to maybe David.
Cool. Yeah. Excited to be here. Basically my intro is I am a designer and we kind of jack of all trades, kind of dabble in everything, to be honest. And we founded Unfold about 8 years ago. And about 3 years ago, we founded, the three of us founded Jam, and we were pushing Jam for a while. But yeah, overall, just designer at heart. And yeah, excited to hop on this interview. So Phil.
Yeah. So my name is Phil Goodwin. Yeah, I've been in design, doing my thing in design since about 2005. And really in like 2015 kind of went from hey, I design everything to I only design products, digital products. And so kind of became a product designer at that point. And then I actually ended up working for Eddie and David for about 2.5 years. I was employed by them through Unfold, the agency that David just referenced. And after a big restructuring in 2023, approached them about starting this new initiative called Jam. So that's kind of how we got into it.
Nice. Tell me about Jam. What problem did it solve? How did the business operate? Give me a high level overview of the business.
Maybe I'll start. Yeah. So the problem Jam solved for what we quickly identified was that because after running like your traditional agency for so long, about 5 years, we realized agencies have a lot of fluff, a lot of processes, a lot of I guess there's just a lot going on there for by the time the client gets actual results or any of the visuals. And there's good in that, of course, but it's not for everyone. So there, with the high budgets and pricing models of agencies, we quickly realized something like a subscription model, which started getting a little bit trendy, was something we want to dabble in. And Phil actually kind of learned about that early on, and then pitched the idea to us, and we thought it was a great idea to try to explore. And it's really just offering service as a product, right? And so clients know what the expectations are. There's a whole process. It's async, and just generally, it's a better fit for a lot of companies, a lot of clients, because it's just a little bit more budget friendly. And yeah, so it there's pros and cons to both, of course, but that was the main kind of need that we saw. And maybe Phil and Eddie can add to that a bit more.
Yeah, I think what we saw in what I noticed in traditional agency worlds, we'd see people engage for a quarter or something of the year, right? And you're paying like agency prices. It's really expensive to work with us at the time. And so you'd see someone spend 120, 160K, right, on brand and web and product, all this stuff. And then you kind of watch from afar and you see the quality. Like after we stopped working with them, right? Because it was expensive, right? To like maintain supporting those products, those brands. So you just see the quality of those things like decline over time, kind of looking on the outside. And so one of the things that Jam kind of solved was this ability to provide a support system of design that didn't have like the agency price tag, but gave you still the agency quality and talent that you were getting, at an agency, but you were able to get it you were able to repackage what people were like the price and the service was like way more kind of strict. And we kind of did it inside of a specific standard operating procedure, like set of procedures that kind of kept it affordable, both cost efficient on our side and on the client side. So and designers also enjoyed being able to operate in a very like strict way of working, a strict process, async. They weren't stuck in meetings all the time. Everybody knew the expectation of what was coming next. So I'm sure we may get into like how Jam works exactly, but that was a few pain points I feel like we solved for people. So you could kind of get the access to a whole team of people that you would normally get at an agency, but you're getting it at like basically the price of like a mid-tier designer that you can really kind of like fire anytime with no consequence, right? Like you can have a subscription and cancel it anytime you want. And that's fine. No harm, no foul. And the designers are available for like anybody who's got a subscription. We've got brand designers, web designers, product designers, illustrators. And so different people are plugging into different projects at different times, depending on the need. And the other kind of issue with the agency model was that if you wanted to brand design, but then you wanted to move on to web design, you kind of had to wait till the web design department had availability, right? So you might have to like have a few weeks delay of, okay, well, I just finished my brand, and I'm ready to start on my site. Well, nobody in the web department's available right now. We'll be available in 2 to 4 weeks. It's like, okay, well then you have to wait like that time till you start your website. So Jamm really allows you to be more flexible. So like maybe you work on a brand for just a couple weeks. Like I'm gonna spend 2 weeks. I'm gonna develop a really bare bones brand, and then I'm gonna jump right into web design. So a lot of these like SaaS startup, pre-seed, just seeded kind of companies find a lot of value in being able to move more quickly like that without kind of being locked into a more traditional agency. Here's an SOW, a master services agreement. There's contracts for you to sign. We're going to start, we're going to start in 3 or 4 weeks from now. It's just like, no, Jamm is like, you go there, you hit the subscribe button, you get an invite to your board within a day, and you're like starting on your task when you get your board. So it's like the ramp up time is super fast. You can, we literally had people who signed up for Jamm because they were kind of like, I'm not really sure about this whole subscription thing. So I'm just going to sign up. I'm going to cancel it right away. So I basically just have 1 month. I'm just going to try this out. One of our very first clients did that, and because he had tried another subscription service and wasn't like super happy with it, and so he signed up for ours, and then within 2 weeks he uncanceled it and then booked a second one, and so he had like 2 subscriptions running in tandem, and we had him as a client for like 8 months. So and it's really meant to like scale with the business, right? So you have like your kind of startups, and then we also have like your really established, companies who've been around a while, but they don't really have a budget to hire a design team. They might have like one designer in house who's overwhelmed, who, they got like a plethora of tasks to get done, and they're really only good at like 2, areas of design. So maybe they're like a web designer and they're like do a little bit of branding, but the needs the company has are like really vast, and they need to be able to do illustration. They need to be able to work on a product. They need to be able to like do some, intense, more brand work. And so that guy tends to be overwhelmed, that guy or girl. And so Jamm really acts as like a nice augmenter to them and a supercharger for them. So, a client with steady cash flows may come in and be like, oh yeah, I'll hire Jamm at, $6,000 a month to like basically support my designer who I already have. And, they would plug in we've literally had some clients at Jamm who started with us the day we started, and they're still with us to this day, about 2.5 years later. And they've kind of scaled and used Jamm at different capacities. They may have scaled up to 3 subscriptions at one time for like busy seasons, and scaled back down to 1 subscription, in like a kind of a support, keeping Jamm in a support role for their design person on staff. So
I think a quick way to say it is like Jamm subscription is like an employee that can do everything pretty well, right? Really well in a senior level. And it's very modular. So I think that was the appeal for a lot of companies, for a lot of clients.
Nice. I love it. Tell me a little bit more about the process. I'm curious. I submitted a design request. Do I get designs back in say 24 hours or 48 hours? Or does it depend?
Yeah. So the standard process and way we go is 2 business day turnaround on a task update. So everything's in Trello, right? So you have like a backlog you can kind of build out, and clients manage all their own boards. So we don't move cards around for people, and we tell them all this in sales calls and things, but they'll create their tasks. They can have 1 task at a time per subscription they have in like a current request column in Trello. And then our goal on our side is to get them some kind of visual update within about 2 business days. Now, we don't at all advertise that like, yeah, if you put in, website design as your task, like your whole website's going to be done in 2 days. Like that's not real, right? It's unrealistic. So what we typically tell people is like, hey, you're going to have like a nice juicy visual update. So if your first art is landing page design, your first update's probably going to be some exploration around a hero, right? So you might have like 3, 4, 5 explorations of like different orientations of a hero image and how we might display text and images or illustrations, and kind of like cast vision for that, basically the billboard of your website, right? So that first update comes back to you about 2 business days later, which is like a Loom video where the design manager, who's kind of your main point of contact at Jamm, who really facilitates kind of like all the work getting done and making sure the quality is up to snuff. They'll have an update to the client, right? They'll shoot a Loom video, a link to Figma where we do all the work, walk them through that. And then they say, okay, give me some feedback because we need, to keep going, we need some feedback. So the way that Jamm works, and we're like super transparent about this on our calls before someone signs up, is like, as long as if you're not giving us feedback in a timely way, like you're not going to get the most value out of the subscription. When we drop you an update, if you don't give us any feedback for 4 days, like nothing's getting done in that file unless you give us feedback. So most people get back to us within the day. And once they have a round of feedback, the next kind of visual push that they'll get an update on is 2 business days after that. And so that's like rinse and repeat on every task until the client kind of deems like a task done, like I've got everything I need. Then they'll move that to an approved column. They'll move the next one to the current request, and that cycle starts over. And that's task over task and month over month until they decide like, I got everything I need. I can cancel now.
Nice.
Yeah.
Right on. All right, this question's for each of you. I'd love to know, what is the funnest part of running a business like this, and what would you say the hardest part is?
You want to start?
I mean, coming from the agency world, it's been a big difference, obviously, big shift because we, as a designers group, we try to the way we set it up. It's mostly like automated, all the tickets and things like things that move around a lot, like messages and that come in. It's sort of automated. But as a designer, what I enjoyed the most, especially the early days when we were the primary managers and designers, we got to design a lot as we eliminated all the fluff, like David was saying. So it was just purely design and work. You know, you just work on digital, and that's what designers want to do. Like designers want to design, and that's been, you know, very. I mean, it was a lot of work, but it was very enjoyable because yeah, we just want to design and
Nice.
yeah, and at the end of the day, like client just pays for design. He doesn't pay for us to sit around and you know, do the meetings that sometimes unnecessary. Yeah, I think that's what I enjoyed.
Yeah, I would say for me, kind of what Eddie's saying, where it's just a lot more streamlined and automated. Where you, because we ran a business before, an agency, and there's just so much, like with proposals, estimates, invoicing, like there's just so much to handle on that front on the operation side. And so here, you know, they literally subscribe. It's automated, and everything is for the most part automated. When it comes to the operation side, and which makes it fun because now we can focus on what we want to do, right? It's like, hey, we're designers, we want to design. So, and I think kind of hopping around at a smaller scale, like from different projects and clients, you know, that does make it fun. But on the other side of that, where it could be overwhelming if you have too many, right? So, but if you're kind of handling 3 to 5 projects and you're just hopping around doing like increments like that, you know, it's definitely enjoyable because you're not stuck on one project for weeks and weeks or months and months. So that's what I would say to that.
Nice.
Yeah, I for me, I think the whole process was, you know, I've kind of been freelancing since, you know, like I established a business, you know, in 2009, right? But it was basically just me. So it was like you know, you kind of feel like hey, I own a business. I started an LLC. And then I came to learn that I didn't actually own a business. I owned a job that I worked that had a business front on it. And then kind of going into like working for a couple agencies and then, you know, going into Jamm, it's like, okay, we're actually trying to sort of a business now, which was both like fun and brought like a lot of challenge. So like, I think the fun part and the cool part about Jamm was kind of like learning how to build a business in a way that that I would want to like buy it from some, you know, like all the stuff is like in place. The operating procedures are written up. Like there's not a whole lot of questions about how this thing works and, you know, how everything flows. Like it's pretty straightforward. That was like a really enjoyable part and a really fun learning experience in kind of building this business. Also the hardest part is probably like the people management, right? Like just kind of like figuring out like, all right, we got to get, you know, there has to be designers in here to like do design work. So figuring out like that process and any of the like, you know, vetting, hiring, you know, everyone's an independent contractor at Jamm. So there's no like W-2 employees. So that's its own kind of like beast in itself of figuring out, you want responsible designers in there, like people who are self-motivated. And so like, that was probably the most challenging part is like just the people management side. That was not what it was when I just worked by myself all the time, right? Responsible for me, not for really anybody else. And so that was probably has been the biggest challenge is like learning how to manage people well and better.
Yeah, I think every founder can relate to that last part, the people management aspect. So it sounds like business was booming. You guys were doing exceptionally well. What made you decide to ultimately sell the business?
I think kind of what Phil started or mentioned earlier. You know, when we started Jamm, some of the thinking was that we would eventually sell. So it wasn't like, hey, let's sell for a specific reason. But like I don't think there's like a specific reason we sold, but I think it was more of like, hey, we built this thing to scale it, to make it great. We pushed it as far as we could, and like when we listed it, we didn't even know we would really sell it at the time. We thought maybe we might need another year or two. Like we weren't sure on the timeline. But to our surprise, there were like a lot of good interest and one really stood out and we eventually landed the deal. So I think it was kind of organic. You know, it wasn't like we had like this reason to sell. But maybe Eddie or Phil want to add to that a bit. Yep.
Yeah, like we what David said, and also we're really good designers. All three of us have different specialties, but we're not super good marketers. We're not super good at marketing, you know. Like, and we do a lot of marketing material, but I think we pushed Jamm to this point where it's established, it's built, and it's working. But we want this, we don't want this company to grow bigger, and plug it into something like the company that acquires Napkin. And it gives Jamm this opportunity to be something much better and bigger, and it can support more designers, and we're still part of it. We were still designing for Jamm, but yeah, I think it's has a lot better future.
Yeah, I agree with all that. I think the main thing was we like hit the ceiling on how far we could push it in the growth, trajectory. Like we tried like lots of different avenues, and we're like, man, we just like don't. This like isn't our specialty, right? We can design, we can build this business, but we only get it to a certain level, and there really needs to be like somebody who really knows how to like grow past this like ceiling we keep hitting. And so that was the thing. When we met with Napkin the first couple of times, and they had actually been through they actually purchased a subscription business years ago, design business, but at a little bit different scale of price point. I think the price point of the business they had purchased before was about $100 to $1,000 a month subscription. So not at like the same kind of like boutique sort of level quality we were going for with like senior level designers, but they had experience in scaling the same kind of business. And so when we like that was like in meeting number 1, they like talked about that, and I was like, dude, if you guys can do that with Jamm, like that's what Jamm needs. Like our designers need more work. Like I would love to see this thing explode so that everybody has more to do. Because like I said, everybody's a contractor, so everybody wants to have more subscriptions they're managing. It's more money in their pocket, right? So so I think that was the biggest thing of like we prepped it to sell, and then someone came along who looked like they could take it to the next level that we couldn't. So
yeah. I think those scenarios are some of the best I see at Acquire, where the founders, you recognize that the business has hit a ceiling, or you've taken it as far as you feel you can take it. Then you sell it to a buyer that could take the business farther and allows you guys to focus on what you really like to do, which is design. So I think that's a win-win for everybody, including your clients too. So that's awesome. Tell me about the acquisition process though. What was maybe something you learned, and maybe something that was a little challenging during that process?
Yeah, I think we all learned a lot since this was our first acquisition. So, definitely we had no idea what we were getting into. And I actually knew Acquire from years ago. So I was signed up, and I actually saw your newsletters come in, Andrew. So it was like familiar, right? So I was familiar with like prospecting and potentially buying, right? And looking at listings, but never on the other side of it. So we kind of went in blind, and I think we learned a lot. Acquire, we had a great what is it, like a representative for Acquire, like the actual advisor. Yep. So that was really helpful. Like I think without that, we would be in the dark. We'd have no idea what we're doing. And overall, yeah, I think the experience was just really good, really pleasant. Acquire really kind of brought us from start to finish all the way through. Really advised us throughout everything. And I'll let the guys speak a little more to that. But yeah, it was very, very good. So
yeah, so I have a friend of mine, my like business mentor is actually a business broker. And so I kind of had a little bit of like, a little bit of knowledge from him, but it's a different type of brokerage. I mean, you guys specialize in the kind of business we had. And so it was like, and David already had this relationship. And so we kind of got going, and I'm like bouncing stuff off him the whole time. I'm like, how does this work? But I gotta say, like, Kai was our advisor. Dude was a champion. Okay. He really championed our business, right? And really like guided us through the whole process, because it definitely was like completely foreign. Like I felt like I was in uncharted waters like constantly throughout the process. And I'm like constantly like hitting up Kai in the messaging platform, emailing him all the time to ask him questions about stuff. Cause there's so many like aspects to this that you don't know when you're like going into it. And we got hit with the in due diligence, getting hit with like a data room, right? Where I'm like uploading, there's like, I don't know what it was. It was like 16 sections, and every section had a bunch of subfolders of like all this stuff. I was like, oh my good, like there's a lot to this process, and but I would say like Acquire overall like made it like as easy as it can be, right? So I thought the experience was amazing. You guys did a phenomenal job. You guys brought ultimately the guy who initially reached out came through Acquire and kind of connected us with Napkin, and it was like off to the races from meeting 1. And so yeah, experience with Acquire has been amazing, and the acquisition process in general is really fun. It just kind of gives us if we ever decide to like try to build something to sell it again, like I'll feel way more equipped this time. It's addicting, going through that. But once you kind of do it and you like know what it's like, and then probably the scariest parts were like getting to the legal, and you're like in purchase agreements and you're like going back and you're redlining and there's like transaction attorneys involved. And then there's the attorney of the buyer involved. And you're like, I'm pinging Kai. I'm like, hey, there's like taxes you have to like think. There's like all these parts. And I'm like, man, I'm going to know so much more if I try to do this again. So anyway, it was amazing. That was a long-winded way of saying it was great.
Awesome. Eddie, you want to add anything?
Oh no, and I think Bill and David covered it pretty well.
All right. What'd you guys do to celebrate when it closed? You guys do anything cool or buy anything interesting or fun or just do some designs? What'd you guys do?
What did we do?
I went to Costco.
Right. David,
My wife's like, we're going to Costco.
Yeah, that's the place to go.
David signed the purchase agreement with his whole family. They were all standing around his phone. They had a video of him.
Got a little video. Yeah, it was fun.
I was
awesome.
I was sitting alone at I got 3 kids that are like 8 and under. And so my wife and kids were all at home. I was out at like a coffee shop. And so I'm like, David's sending pictures of me and his family signing a purchase agreement. I'm like, I'm sitting alone at a table at a coffee shop signing this thing.
Sorry, they didn't mean to rub it in. Didn't mean to rub it in, Phil.
No, not at all. Not at all. I mean, it was like,
Hey, that's so special.
What was
Sorry,
your
go ahead.
family's reaction?
Oh, they were excited. I mean, it was a long process, as you kind of aware. It's like a month or two long, or at least the whole closing process with the buyer. But yeah, once it was official, everyone was excited because again, it was unknown, right? Like the whole even like towards the end, it's like, well, there's always that thought of, well, maybe something might not work out or something might fall through. But once it was official, yeah, everyone was like, all right, this is awesome. This is exciting. So yeah,
that's awesome. I'm happy for all you guys. Eddie, you want to add anything or are you good on that question?
Yeah, I want to add that we still need to get together and celebrate.
Yes. Eddie and David are brother-in-law. So they live like, I don't know, you're a couple miles from each other down in Florida. And I'm in Georgia. So I'm like an hour outside of Atlanta. And so we haven't actually gotten to see each other in person since all this stuff closed on November 20th. So the celebration is probably yet to happen, to be honest. But
right on. Something to look forward to. I hope you guys make it to Costco. I like that idea. Well, final question. What are you guys working on next? I think I have an idea, but any plans for the future that are new or just kind of staying put?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, we're still somewhat will be involved with Jamm, with like the transition of Jamm, and also like just being on as like support and designers of Jamm. So part of our time kind of different between the three of us will go there. We're also working on just like some other products we're dabbling in. I think a lot of it is just early stage stuff, more around like AI and stuff like that. And then also, we're designers at heart. So we still design and we will still offer that as a service, not subscription service, but it would just be like agency kind of level, kind of one-off projects, as they come in. So I think that's kind of, the overview, or at least for me, and partly for these guys too. So
yeah, it's an interesting transition to go from like you built a business and all these processes to like, okay, I sold the business. I'm no longer responsible for all the ownership related duties. Right. And I'm transitioning now into like, I'm going to work in the system that I built. So that's like an interesting transition where you're like, okay, well, I'm going to like now sit in the seat of all the people who have been doing Jamm work for a couple of years. When we kind of started in that position, when you're like mom and popping it was like just the three of us and we're like starting this and we're doing everything, right? All the business side, all the work, but we haven't had a time yet where we're like, we don't have any of the business stuff that we're like responsible for. We're just doing the work. And so yeah, we're all staying plugged in as design managers at Jamm, managing clients, just like our other design managers do. But yeah, we've got some initiatives together, building little mini apps and little pieces of software that we're playing with. Who knows? Maybe we'll be back to acquire at some point to list some of those. Got fishing poles all over the place, just to see what bites. So
right on.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, guys, huge congrats again on the acquisition. You did what every entrepreneur truly dreams of, building a successful business and getting it acquired. I couldn't be happier. If people want to reach out to you guys and ask questions or follow along your journey, where can they find you online?
Go ahead, David, you first.
Yeah, sure. So if there is any design needs, Jamm is obviously a good place to start. So go to jamm.co. You can sign up for like a subscription, go through all the stuff, book a call with us. We'll be happy to hop on a call and talk about your design needs and see if the Jamm will be a fit. Otherwise, on X, I am Dave Kova, DAVEKOVA, or Unfold the other one is at Unfold Co. So you can find me there.
Boom. Yeah. Oh, and it's Jamm with 2 M's too. If anyone's listening to this, it's like JAMM.co.
Yeah, I'll put it all in the show notes.
Oh, you got
the
it.
links and stuff.
Yeah, online. I'm on X. I'm really anywhere that I pop up on socials. I'm at FHL Creative, like Faith, Hope, Love. So at FHL Creative is me. So yeah, if you want to reach out, I'm on mostly on X. So hit me in the DMs. They're open.
Yeah, same here. I'm on X as well, and I'm at Lobanovskiy. Good luck trying that. That if there's a link, then you have a chance to find me. But if there's no link,
I'll email you guys for the links. But again, congrats again on the acquisition. Thanks for coming on the podcast, and I hope you guys keep crushing it.
Thanks, Andrew.
awesome. Yeah,
For having us
appreciate
here.
it.
Thank you, Andrew. And thank you for your choir and everything else. We appreciate it.